50 Cent just dropped a truth bomb that's got the rap world buzzing. He revealed Biggie's hate for Tupac wasn't just beef, but a friction that ran deeper than anyone ever knew.
They battling each other. Because if y'all have a serious issue, you need to address that immediately.
He spilled on secret deals, betrayal, and a twisted game the industry tried to hide. Let's break it down. 50 Cent makes shocking revelation. For years, they told us it was East versus West, pride versus pride, track versus track. But 50 say, nah, that story's capped. The truth cuts deeper than that. Biggie's hate for Pac ain't start from no diss or fame. It started from a secret move behind closed doors. And once you hear what he said, you'll never see Pac and Big the same again. It all started like brotherhood. Two young kings on the rise. Biggie and Pac, same hustle, same fire in their eyes. But the game flipped quick, rumors turned to war, and whispers in the streets had them both keeping score. When most cats think about the legendary beef between Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G., they straight up picture two OGs who were destined to clash from day one, like it was written in the stars or something. But that's not it. Picture this, fam. It's 1993 in Los Angeles, and Tupac Shakur, already an established platinum-selling artist, is out there living that West Coast lifestyle to the fullest. He's got hit albums under his belt, he's starring in movies, acting, and everything, and he's basically living the dream that every hustler turned rapper fantasizes about when they're grinding in the streets. Now, enter Christopher Wallace, better known as Biggie Smalls or Big Papa, a hungry, up-and-coming spitter from Brooklyn who's still pushing mixtapes on the block, trying to make a name for himself in an industry that don't even know his government name yet. The two homies met through a mutual drug dealer acquaintance, which, let's keep it a buck, was pretty common in the hip-hop world of the early 90s when the streets and the industry were still real interconnected like that. What happened next was something truly special. My G Tupac didn't just meet Biggie and dap him up. Nope. He welcomed this Brooklyn cat into his crib with open arms, showed him mad love. He let this unknown Brooklyn rapper crash on his couch like they was blood. They smoked trees together. They chopped it up about life in the game. They discussed the business side of hip-hop. And most importantly, Tupac started mentoring Biggie like a big homie would school his younger homie coming up. Ed Lover from Yo. MTV Raps recalled how Tupac treated Biggie like a little brother during this period, even letting him bring shorties back to the crib and everything. This wasn't just some industry handshake and fake love. This was genuine brotherhood, the kind of bond that should have lasted a lifetime and beyond, the kind of loyalty you don't break for nothing. Now, Tupac didn't just offer Biggie a place to crash. He offered him something way more valuable than any chain or record deal: knowledge and career advice that would literally shape Biggie's entire approach to making music and getting them ducats. According to multiple sources who were there during these conversations and sessions, Tupac gave Biggie a whole blueprint for success that was absolutely revolutionary for that time. Straight game that most industry heads wouldn't share with their own crew. He told him something that sounds simple, but was actually incredibly profound and ahead of its time. Don't rap for men, rap for women on the singles. You can do the raw hip-hop stuff on the album. Think about how brilliant that advice was, how it changed the whole game. Tupac was essentially telling Biggie to make his singles commercially accessible to appeal to the ladies, who were a massive untapped market with real buying power, while keeping his street credibility and that raw underground sound intact on the deeper album cuts for the real hip-hop heads. This formula, this strategy that Tupac handed to Biggie on a silver platter like a OG passing down wisdom, became the foundation for Biggie's commercial breakthrough and his entire career trajectory that took him to superstardom. But the mentorship and the real talk didn't stop there, not by a long shot. When Biggie was trying to figure out which manager to rock with, Tupac was actually considering managing him himself, taking him under his wing completely. Let that marinate for a moment. Let that sink in real deep. Tupac was so invested in Biggie's success, so confident in his talent and potential, that he was willing to take on the responsibility of managing his whole career and guiding him through the industry snakes. But ultimately, Tupac gave him perhaps the most important piece of advice, the realest game he could drop. Nah, stay with Puff, he will make you a star. Tupac recognized that Sean Puff Daddy Combs had the industry connections, the business acumen, and the hustle to take Biggie to the stratosphere, where he belonged, and he selflessly encouraged Biggie to pursue that relationship instead of keeping him for himself. The chemistry between these two wasn't just behind closed doors in the studio or the crib either. On October 24th, 1993, at Madison Square Garden during the Budweiser Superfest, Tupac and Biggie actually freestyled together on stage in front of thousands of screaming fans, going crazy. Nobody in that arena could have predicted that just a few short years later, these same two brothers would be at the center of a rivalry so toxic, so poisonous, that it would literally tear hip-hop apart apart at the seams and leave the whole culture bleeding. Busta Rhymes, who witnessed their friendship firsthand and was in the mix, shared a story that really drives home how deep their bond was, how real the love was between them. He revealed that Biggie had once recorded a Tupac diss verse for him, some real spicy bars, but Biggie couldn't bring himself to release it out of loyalty to Tupac, out of respect for what they had. Even when Diddy later tried to repurpose that verse for Biggie's posthumous album Born Again in 1999, Biggie had already muted the lines because he simply couldn't disrespect someone he considered family, someone who had showed him love when he was nobody.
There was always battling a part of the culture. What happened to they battling each other? You gotta look back at it.
Now here's something interesting. While 50 disclosed some hard truths about the beef between Biggie and Tupac, he also revealed something unexpected. He has consistently argued that the Tupac-Biggie feud was massively overhyped and wasn't actually the genuine life or death street beef that the media portrayed it to be for ratings and clicks. He's been saying that these weren't two cats who genuinely wanted to smoke each other. These were two businessmen, two artists who simply had their fallout. This perspective from 50 Cent is absolutely crucial to understanding the real story, the truth behind all the smoke and mirrors. He's essentially saying that if Tupac and Biggie had genuinely wanted to body each other, if they had really had that kind of murderous intent that the media kept pushing for profit, they would have handled that in the streets immediately, the way real beef gets handled when it's on site. They wouldn't have been making diss records and doing interviews, talking slick. They would have caught each other slipping and taken care of business right then and there. No hesitation. The fact that they didn't, according to 50's analysis, proves that this wasn't actual street beef in the traditional sense. But here's the big question. If they didn't truly hate each other, if they were actually brothers who had been torn apart by circumstances beyond their control, then what really happened? How did we get from Biggie crashing on Tupac's couch in 1993, learning the game and getting blessed with knowledge, to both of them dead within 6 months of each other by 1997, with the whole hip-hop world mourning? That's where the story gets really complicated, really messy, and really tragic. And that's exactly what we're about to explore. The night everything got flipped and the industry's deadly game. Now, to understand why 50 Cent's perspective on this entire situation is so revolutionary and different from what we've been hearing, we need to examine the exact moment when everything fell apart between these two brothers who were supposed to ride together. We need to go back to November 30th, 1994 at Quad Recording Studios in Times Square, the night that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of hip-hop history and set in motion a series of events that would ultimately claim both these kings' lives and leave the whole culture in shambles. Picture the scene. Visualize this whole setup. Tupac arrives at Quad Studios to lay down some tracks. Just another night in the life of a successful rapper getting that money. As he enters the building, he sees Biggie, Diddy, and members of Junior MAFIA posted up outside, chilling like everything is everything. Everything seems normal. Everything seems cool. Just homies in the industry crossing paths. But as Tupac makes his way inside the building, 3 armed cats in ski masks suddenly appear out of nowhere, like something from a movie. They run up on him, rob him of $35,000 worth of jewelry, chains, rings, the whole nine. And then, in an act of violence that would haunt hip-hop forever and change the game completely, they shoot him 5 times, in the chest, in the groin, and in the hand, leaving him bleeding out on the studio floor. So here's where the story gets absolutely crucial to understanding 50 Cent's perspective on why Biggie didn't actually hate Tupac, why this whole beef was built on something other than real animosity. As Tupac is being wheeled out on a stretcher, barely clinging to life and in mad pain, he spots Biggie and Diddy upstairs in the studio, looking like they wasn't even shook. In a moment of rage, pain, and confusion that you gotta understand from his perspective, he flips them off and yells, "Come here, open your fucking mouth. Didn't I tell you not to fuck with me?" It's said that Tupac's reaction wasn't based on actually seeing Biggie pull the trigger or orchestrate the whole setup. It was based on the fact that Biggie and Diddy were there, in the same building, at the same time, seemingly unfazed by what had just happened to their supposed homie, their brother who had showed them love. What made this situation even worse was that literally hours after being shot 5 times and left for dead, Tupac was arrested on sexual molestation charges stemming from an incident with a 19-year-old fan back in November 1993. He was convicted the very next day and ended up serving 9 months of an 18-month sentence upstate. From Tupac's perspective, sitting in that jail cell at Rikers Island, month after month with nothing but time to think, the math seemed to add up to betrayal. The pieces seemed to fit. He told Vibe magazine in 1995, "I thought my closest homies would be the ones to set me up, but here's the thing. There was never any actual evidence linking Biggie to the Quad Studios shooting, not one shred of proof." The shooting has been widely attributed to associates of Jacques Haitian Jack Agnon, or possibly Crips gang members, potentially related to disputes over a $40,000 extortion case and various street-level beef that had nothing to do with Biggie whatsoever. That was a whole different situation. Biggie even visited Tupac in Rikers Island, desperately trying to convince him face-to-face that he had nothing to do with the shooting, that he would never violate like that or set him up. But by that point, the seed of doubt had been planted in Tupac's mind, and it had taken root so deeply that no amount of denial or explanation could uproot it or change his perspective. The paranoia, the fear, the sense of abandonment, it all became too much for Tupac to see past, too much for him to forgive, even if forgiveness was what the situation actually required and what would have saved both their lives. Now, according to 50, the real villains in this story weren't Tupac and Biggie. Nope, they were the record label executives who saw an opportunity to exploit this personal tragedy for profit, to make millions off the blood and pain. They were the industry snakes and vultures who took what should have been a private misunderstanding between two homies and turned it into a full-scale coastal war that would sell millions of records and generate billions of dollars in publicity, regardless of the human cost or the bodies that would drop. Enter Suge Knight and Death Row Records, the most notorious label in hip-hop at that time. While Tupac was rotting in Clinton Correctional Facility from February to October 1995, feeling abandoned by everyone in the industry and the streets, Knight swooped in like a savior with a bag. He posted Tupac's $1.4 million bail on October 12, 1995, and signed him to Death Row Records for a reported $3.5 million deal that changed everything. But Knight wasn't just being generous or showing love, he had his own agenda, his own beef to settle. Knight was already feuding with Diddy over various business disputes and perceived slights and disrespect, and he saw Tupac as the perfect weapon to use against Bad Boy Records and everything it represented in the industry. And this is where 50 Cent's analysis becomes so crucial to understanding the reality of the situation and how it got twisted. Knight was already engaged in a public war with Diddy, and signing Tupac gave him the ammunition he needed to escalate that war to unprecedented levels that the industry had never seen. At the August 3rd, 1995 Source Awards in New York, Knight took the stage and threw shots at Diddy in front of the whole industry. The crowd booed loud as hell. The tension became palpable, like it was about to pop off right there, and the coastal divide became official with everybody choosing sides. But here's what's so dirty about this, and what 50 Cent has been trying to illuminate for years. These label executives were actively escalating a conflict that didn't need to exist, pouring gas on a situation that could have been squashed. They were pouring gasoline on a fire that could have been extinguished with honest conversation and genuine reconciliation between two brothers. February 28, 1995 saw the release of Who Shot Ya as the B-side to Biggie's Big Papa single. Now, according to Diddy and everyone at Bad Boy Records, this song was recorded before the Quad Studios shooting and was about a completely random robbery, nothing to do with Pac at all. However, the timing of its release, just months after Tupac had been shot 5 times and left for dead, made it impossible for Tupac to see it as anything other than a direct taunt, a mocking reminder of his near-death experience and his pain. The lyrics, Who Shot Ya, felt like salt being poured into an open wound, regardless of the song's actual origins or intentions behind it. Tupac responded the way he felt he had to respond, the way the streets demanded he respond if he wanted to keep his credibility and respect. His diss tracks came fast and furious, resulting in the nuclear bomb that was Hit 'Em Up in June 1996. This wasn't just a diss track, this was a declaration of total war, a scorched earth policy that targeted not just Biggie, but Diddy, Junior MAFIA, Mobb Deep, and essentially anyone associated with the East Coast who wanted problems. The lyrics weren't just threatening, they were promising violence, promising revenge, promising that this situation would end in bloodshed if it continued down this path without somebody backing down. But here's what 50 Cent wants us to understand about all of this. Biggie, throughout this entire escalation, remained mostly silent publicly, didn't really engage in the back and forth like that. He focused on his music, on his album Life After Death, on his family and his career, and staying out the way. Yes, there were subliminal disses in some of his songs, tracks like Long Kiss Goodnight that some people interpreted as shots at Tupac and the West Coast, but it still said that Biggie never released anything approaching the level of vitriol and direct confrontation that Tupac was putting out there for the world to hear. In his last interview before his death, Biggie said something that really captures this entire dynamic, the whole truth.
Coastal war, like I never hated nobody from the West Coast, you know what I'm saying? It was a personal beef, you know what I'm saying? And I figure like this, that man has passed away, we just need to just let that be it. I kind of recognize the power that me and Tupac had to be able to have a personal problem with each other and wage a East Coast, West Coast beef. I mean, that's a coast against a coast. Just two regular dudes, you know? So since he's gone, I think I got to take his place and my place to take all the power I can to just squash it.
Those words, spoken just days before his own murder, cut him down and had folks asking, did Biggie really hate Tupac? 50 Cent's truth and the legacy of a manufactured war. While we've been fed different narratives for nearly a decade, it's important to note that 50 Cent's perspective on this entire tragedy is so important and so different. 50 Cent wasn't just some random cat commenting on hip-hop history from the sidelines trying to get clout. He was someone who lived through a remarkably similar experience, who survived his own attempted murder in the streets, and who learned crucial lessons from what happened to Tupac and Biggie that literally saved his life and kept him breathing. In a revealing interview where he keeps it 100, 50 Cent explained exactly how Tupac and Biggie's deaths influenced his own survival and changed his whole approach. He talked about his attack when he was shot 9 times while wearing a bulletproof vest. 50 Cent studied Tupac and Biggie's deaths with the attention to detail of a street general studying past battles to make sure his soldiers don't make the same mistakes. He recognized that both of them died from wounds to their torsos that would have been prevented by body armor. Simple as that. Tupac was shot in a drive-by on September 7th, 1996, after attending a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, dying 6 days later on September 13th at just 25 years old, gone too soon. Biggie was gunned down on March 9th, 1997, after leaving a Vibe magazine party in Los Angeles, dead at 24. Another young king taken from the game. Both killed within 6 months of each other, both dying from body shots that could have been prevented with proper protection and staying prepared for war. 50 Cent took those lessons to heart like scripture, and when he survived being shot 9 times in the year 2000, getting hit in the face, hand, and all over his body, it was partly because he had learned from their mistakes and stayed ready. In his analysis of both artists' skills and legacies, 50 has been remarkably balanced and honest, keeping it real even when his opinions might be controversial and get people in their feelings. He's praised Biggie's technical prowess while acknowledging Tupac's cultural impact, but he's also been clear about what he sees as the reality of their artistic differences versus their personal relationship and the love they had. In a 2023 clip titled 50 Cent's Honest Take, Was Tupac an All-Time Great? He broke down what he saw as Tupac's strengths and limitations without sugarcoating nothing. He wasn't able to articulate street life like Nas, talk shit like Jay-Z, or be funny like Biggie. Couldn't spit as hard as Eminem. He ain't flow like Biggie either. Now, some cats might see these comments as disrespectful or hating, but 50 immediately followed up with something crucial that changes the whole perspective. Every rapper who grew up in the 90s owes something to Tupac. People either try to emulate him in some way. What 50 is doing here is separating technical skill from cultural impact, artistry from influence, and the way you move the culture. He's saying that while Biggie might have been the superior technical rapper in terms of flow, wordplay, and wit, the better pure MC, Tupac's impact on hip-hop culture and his ability to emotionally connect with listeners on a soul level was unmatched in the game. And crucially, he's making it clear that these artistic differences don't translate into personal hatred. They're just different strengths that both OGs possessed and brought to the table. 50 has also shared that he often listens to both artists back to back, appreciating Tupac's vulnerability and Biggie's polish in equal measure, showing love to both. This isn't the behavior of someone who believes these two cats were mortal enemies who wanted each other dead. This is someone who recognizes that they were both titans of hip-hop who brought different but equally valuable elements to the culture, and that their conflict was a tragedy precisely because they should have been allies building together, not enemies tearing each other down. But perhaps the most explosive revelation that 50 Cent has made in recent years involves his accusations against Sean Diddy Combs regarding Tupac's murder and the role he may have played. In October 2023, amid resurfaced rumors and lawsuits coming to light, 50 directly accused Diddy of orchestrating Tupac's death, stating bluntly, without holding back, he ordered Tupac's murder. This isn't just casual speculation or rumor mongering from the barbershop. 50 is directly tying into his broader narrative that label executives like Diddy escalated the beef for profit and power, potentially leading to tragedy and bodies dropping. Recent developments as of 2025 have added new layers to these accusations that got people talking again. A January 2025 documentary features ex-Diddy bodyguard Gene Deal, alleging that Diddy could have been involved involved in Biggie's death, citing discussions about a potential hit being put out. With Diddy now facing federal charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering, there's renewed scrutiny on all of these unsolved murders and the role that industry manipulation and money may have played in escalating conflicts to deadly levels where cats got smoked. What 50 Cent is really revealing here is that the entire East Coast West Coast beef, the entire narrative of Tupac and Biggie hating each other and wanting blood, was largely manufactured and pushed by people who had financial interests in keeping the conflict alive and the drama going for profit. Interestingly, neither murder has been officially solved to this day. Tupac's shooter has never been charged, and Biggie's shooter remains unknown in the streets, even though theories point to Wardell Poochie Faust, a Bloods affiliate connected to Suge Knight, or various LAPD corruption ties and dirty cops. The Game, 50 Cent's former rival from the West, once compared their 2005 feud to Tupac and Biggie, saying it could have ended by both of them going out like Tupac and Biggie with bodies in the streets. So far, 50 has acknowledged this comparison and even used it as a warning against escalation and letting beef get out of hand, demonstrating that he learned the critical lesson that Tupac and Biggie never got the chance to learn before it was too late. Tupac himself, in his own words, seemed to understand the nuance of the situation before his death, showing that he knew what it really was.
It was never a beef, it's only a difference in opinion. That's like me being mad at my little brother because he get cash now. I'm not mad at that. I'm just mad at my little brother when he don't respect me. And when you don't respect me, I'm gonna spank your ass. I don't give a fuck how rich you got on the block. I'm your big brother. I will break your big ass down.
These words from Tupac are absolutely crucial to understanding the truth that 50 Cent has been trying to illuminate for the culture. Even Tupac, in moments of clarity when he wasn't caught up in the emotions, recognized that this wasn't about hatred. It was about respect, about feeling betrayed by someone he considered family, about the hurt that comes from believing your little brother turned on you and violated the code. And that's completely different from the narrative we've been sold of two men who wanted each other dead from day one, who couldn't exist in the same world together. After Tupac's death, there were attempts at peace from OGs trying to restore order. Louis Farrakhan brokered a September 22, 1996 peace summit at his mosque, though it ultimately faltered and didn't stick. Snoop Dogg and Diddy called for unity on some real grown man talk, with a significant meeting on April 3, 1997 that brought together major figures from both coasts to squash the beef. But these attempts came too late to save Biggie, who was killed just weeks before. That April meeting could solidify a lasting truce and bring real peace to the game. So now that 50's finally peeled back the curtain, what do you think? Was Biggie's hate for Tupac really fueled by the streets, or was it all part of a bigger industry setup? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. For more videos like this, click on this next card on your screen.